The Man Who Skipped, submitted by Paul, Deep Woods Horror. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is the place for true and personal horror stories from the people who lived them. Real accounts of the things that go wrong when you least expect it. Today's story comes to us from a listener named Paul, and it's one that stuck with me since the moment I read it. It's about small-town peace, a strange man who never stopped smiling, and a secret buried deep in the woods that nobody wanted to find. Before we get into it, if stories like this are your thing, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. And once you're done listening, drop a comment and let me know what you would have done if you were in Paul's shoes. I read every single one. Alright, get comfortable. Maybe check that your doors are locked, and let's get into it. A few years ago, I left the city behind for a small rural town. I'd grown up somewhere loud and crowded, and the second I could afford to leave on my own, I did. The place I landed couldn't be more different. Mountains and forest in every direction. Gorgeous in every season, and somehow never overrun with tourists, which still baffles me to this day. There isn't much to the town itself. A few restaurants, a couple of bars, a gas station that doubles as a repair shop, one grocery store, a tiny police station, and that's about it. The nearest Walmart is an hour away. It's about as off the grid as a place can get, and honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've lived here more than 3 years now, and apart from one terrible day, it's been everything I wanted. But even the quietest towns can be hiding something. When I first arrived, I took a part-time job at the local grocery store. Nothing serious, just enough to get me out of the house and cover extra spending money since most of my income came from work I did online. I turned down a management position because I wanted my free time protected. That free time went straight into the woods. There are more trails and untouched wilderness out here than I could hike in a lifetime, and I was determined to try. Almost as soon as I settled in, I started exploring the trails and getting to know the locals. And everyone, without exception, turned out to be warm and easygoing. Everyone except one man. His name was Hector. I want to be clear. Hector was never cruel or aggressive. He was just off, in a way I'd never seen before. The first time I met him, I was pulling into work a little after 5 in the morning, and he came sprinting up to my car window before I'd even gotten the door open. Where I grew up, a stranger doing that gets punched before he gets close. But here, apparently, that's just Hector. I threw my hands up, yelled at him to back off, and he just screamed back in my face and skipped away. Actually skipped, like a kid on a playground. A co-worker filled me in shortly after. Hector had been around town for years. Nobody knew exactly where he lived. The guess was somewhere out near the woods, maybe under a bridge. Everyone assumed he was homeless, and everyone agreed he was harmless, so the town just let him wander. Over the following weeks, I saw him constantly. Didn't matter if it was 5 a.m. or 11 at night. Hector was out there somewhere. He was short, built like a tank. Always in the same stained white tank top and a pair of royal blue pants I could never quite identify. Long gray beard, bald on top, hair pulled into a ponytail in the back, and always skipping, like he existed in a permanent, blissful world of his own. One morning on my way to work, I saw him standing on a street corner, waving at what I assumed was someone across the road. As I drove past the intersection, I realized there was nobody there. He was talking, animated, gesturing, to absolutely no one. Strange, sure, but I told myself it wasn't exactly unusual for someone in his position. I didn't think twice about it. Then came the weekend that changed everything. I was several hours deep into a stretch of forest I'd never hiked before. Real wilderness, not a marked trail. When I heard a voice drifting through the trees. Out there, any voice is unsettling. Instead of turning back like any reasonable person would, I moved toward it. As I got closer, I realized the voice sounded like it was in distress. I pulled out my pocket knife, just as a precaution, and crept forward until I was behind a thick cluster of trees. When I looked through the branches, I froze. It was Hector. He was talking to himself, but switching voices entirely. One voice was cruel, spitting insults, calling him a coward. Then, without warning, that same voice broke down sobbing, begging for forgiveness. Two completely different voices, coming from one man in the middle of nowhere. I stayed hidden. I had no intention of announcing myself. But then the angry voice returned, and without even turning around, Hector screamed toward the trees I was hiding behind. "He's hiding behind the tree. This time you can't let him get away." He turned. He looked directly at me through the branches, and for the first time I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Real, genuine rage. Before I could process it, he charged. He wasn't skipping anymore. He was sprinting, faster than I ever would have guessed, screaming that I wasn't leaving those woods alive. I ran. For what felt like forever, I could hear him right behind me, laughing, screaming, laughing again, always just close enough to make my skin crawl, never quite close enough to grab me. And then silence. I made it back to the trailhead, dropped down, and scanned every direction. Hector was gone. I drove straight to the police station and told the sheriff everything. She looked skeptical at first. Hector, violent. She couldn't picture it. But when I described the exact stretch of forest, her face went pale. That area, she told me, was where they'd found human remains years earlier. A local man, never identified, the case never solved. It was the one dark stain on an otherwise peaceful town's history. And as she sat with it, she started to piece something together. She couldn't quite remember when Hector first showed up in town. But the more she thought about it, the more she was sure it was right around the time those remains were found. She asked me to take her back out there. We went immediately. But Hector was gone, vanished, like he'd never been there at all. Nobody in town ever saw him again. I still hike those woods every chance I get, and every single time, some part of me expects him to come tearing out from behind the trees. I never go without my knife anymore. I have no proof Hector had anything to do with what happened to that man all those years ago. But after what I watched him become that day in the woods, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. So if there's one thing I want you to take from this, pay attention to the people around you. Evil doesn't always look the way you expect it to. Sometimes it skips. And that's where Paul's story ends, though I don't think it ever really ended for him. If this one got under your skin, that's exactly the reaction I'm going for. Make sure you're subscribed so you catch every story we post, hit that like button if you made it this far, and drop a comment below. Tell me what you think really happened to Hector, and whether you'd have been brave enough to look through those trees in the first place. If you've got a true story of your own, I want to hear it. The scarier, the better. Until next time, stay safe out there, and maybe think twice before following a voice into the woods.